good evening, good night, good morning, whatever time zone you're in. You're tuning into the Chit Chat Chew podcast with your co-hosts, Uno and
your girl Aisha, better known as Jade. How y'all doing? Around the world, greetings, love, and peace.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about quite a few topics tonight. We're covering January Awareness Month. So the 5 topics include National Drug and Alcohol, Birth Defects Prevention Month, National Blood Donor, Cervical Health Awareness, and Thyroid Awareness. So we definitely have a lot of wealthy information that we're going to share tonight. So make sure you listening, really listening.
Okay, so we're going to start off with, get it together. We're going to start off with the National Drug and Alcohol Awareness Month/week. So I'm going to start off with, and first let me say, I hope everybody had an awesome weekend. I know that, especially here in Atlanta, we had a couple days off, 2 or 3 days off. Well, I had off 2 days from work. By the time the second day came, I was ready to get back out and do what I had to do. I can't sit too long. Yeah, I just can't. Even when I'm in the worst of pain, I don't really sit too long. I'll be just like tossing and turning, or I don't sit still at times. That's something I need to practice a little bit more.
Yeah, because sometimes you need to sit on your butt and let your body rest. Because, you can tear it down and, with so much running around and using a lot of force and energy, with your body. So, have to just give it some time to recoup, regenerate, whatever words you want to use, to reposition yourself. Then that's what you got to do. You got to take some time to yourself, just to find that balance and peace of mind. But like her, I was out for 2 days. I mean, obviously, I know how the weather was in Atlanta. It was shut down. The snow came out of nowhere, although it was on the news, but you just don't know what to expect with Mother Nature. Sometimes you can't really prepare because, you can prepare to an extent, but then she might turn around and do some crazy shit. So, but I was out for 2 days. I actually enjoyed my 2 days off because, I was doing a lot, So I just needed time to myself. I needed a break. I needed to chill. Let my body recoup. I enjoyed them 2 days off, honestly. And I wish that I could have been off more. But, hey, I know I got to do what I got to do. I got to make my money, get bills paid, what have you. So, but I was glad to get out eventually. See the sunshine. Smell the air. Get into the atmosphere and soak it up. So, yeah. We're going to go ahead and get into the topics, though.
So, yes, the first one that I'm going to read comes from guideinc.org. Again, that's guideinc.org. And what GUIDE stands for, GUIDE, G-U-I-D-E, stands for Gwinnett United in Drug Education Incorporated. So Gwinnett, which is out here in Georgia, Gwinnett County, Gwinnett United in Drug Education, working together for safe and healthy communities. Tell you a little bit about the history. GUIDE's mission is to improve community conditions by utilizing collaborations, promoting positive youth development, delivering specialized training and resources, and preventing substance use and abuse. GUIDE was formed in 1986 as a joint effort between the Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners and the Gwinnett County Board of Education. They wanted to have a comprehensive, coordinated, and proactive approach to reducing and preventing substance use and abuse. A steering committee of prominent Gwinnett leaders developed a preliminary plan and secured funding to hire an executive director. Gwinnett County agreed to provide in-kind office space, telephone services, and utilities. Ari Russell was hired as the ED in 1986. Over the years, the scope of the agency increased, as did the staff. In 1989, the first Georgia Teen Institute was conducted for middle schools in Gwinnett. This program went statewide in 1991 with programs for high school and middle school youth action teams. Guide soon became a recognized leader in the substance abuse prevention field in Georgia. The Gwinnett Mobilizing for Change in ATOD, which is ATOD, initiative evolved in 2004 to provide an umbrella approach for strategies to achieve community-level change in alcohol, tobacco, and other drug issues. The Gwinnett Alcohol Prevention Program began in 2011 under the GMCA umbrella. This initiative, funded by the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, short for DBHDD, focuses on reducing underage and binge drinking among 9 to 20-year-olds in 4 communities in South Gwinnett. Again, their focus is on reducing underage and binge drinking among 9. Did you hear that age? 9 to 20-year-olds. A 9-year-old.
That's because the environment they involve themselves around. A lot of peer pressure. They always tend in the in crowd.
They always tend to say that it's always in the quote unquote urban areas. But no, it happens a lot in the suburbs. Okay, people, it sure does. Happens a lot in the suburbs because Gwinnett County, I'm sure it probably does have hood or urban areas, but they have a lot of,
They can't sing a lot of urban areas though.
Suburb areas, and it happens regardless in whatever and regardless of the urban or the suburb areas. 9 to 20-year-olds. That's like real crazy. But it happens. Guide became an active partner with the Gwinnett Coalition for Health and Human Services when it began in 91. Over the years, Guide has collaborated with the coalition on many initiatives, including smoke-free Gwinnett, reducing inhalant use and underage drinking, and addressing the issues associated with marijuana use and prescription drug misuse. Guide has a standing seat on the coalition's board of directors. Staff members are recognized as experts in the fields of prevention and positive youth development. They are often called upon to serve on work groups and coalitions and to provide professional development and youth leadership training. Today, Guide continues to serve Gwinnett County first and foremost, but also provides services within the metro Atlanta region and statewide. So that was just kind of giving a brief overall history of Guide. It kind of takes me back to when I was really, I won't say really more involved, but yeah, I guess really more involved. There was this similar type of coalition in the DeKalb County area, and my mind's drawn a blank, but I actually remember them having it in the DeKalb County area, which I'm sure they have it in all counties, whether it's here in Georgia, Atlanta, or wherever you stay, they probably have one. And if they don't, I think it's very important to start one, especially, for our teenagers. And I had went out and I had shared about my son when he was younger, when he was underage and drinking, though he wasn't the driver. I've shared this story before. He wasn't the driver, but he wasn't there. And the car that he was in, all of the guys that were underage had been drinking, and the driver, he took his grandmother's car, and they went out. Even though my son wasn't driving, he still has responsibility, and as a parent, I know that can hurt. But however, he still had a responsibility. I mean, he still had a part to play in the aspect of you were drinking And probably he was smoking too. Okay, but he was in the back, and I guess thank the universe for him having on his seatbelt, despite that he was intoxicated, and they all were, and the car had flipped over numerous times, and so any of them, whether it was my son or not at that time, they could have came out of that dead. Because the pictures of how that car was wrapped around the pole, and for them to be able to get out wasn't nothing but the universe, divine intervention, creator, God, Allah, Buddhist, whatever you want to, Jehovah, whatever you choose to call it. It was nothing but the spirits above that kept all of them alive. However, my son was the one who had to go to the emergency. But I say this because, as you were saying, Uno, like it's these kids, like a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them are out of control. A lot of them have different stories. A lot of them are raising themselves. A lot of them do have parents that care, but you know that you have these what's the word? They rebellious. You got some rebellious kids, teens, preteens.
They could be raised right, but
they still can come out here and do stuff.
They still can. Yeah, you're right. They still can come out here and do stuff and do what everybody else is doing.
And peer pressure.
Peer pressure
is huge.
Because it's all about the individual.
Exactly.
You can learn as much as you can at home, but once they're outside the home, the parents are not there to teach them and guide them. Far as life, how to navigate through a lot of situations. So, I mean, you gotta look at that. So everybody has their own mind. People can think for themselves. But, you know, it's just that, like you just said, peer pressure.
And nowadays, I mean, 9-year-olds raising themselves sometimes. I mean, like you said, every case is different. I mean, you 9 out here raising yourself. You know, nowadays, today's 9 wasn't like the 9 years ago, a 9-year-old then.
Totally different mindset.
The millennials or the today's generation is so different.
It's totally different mindset.
You got 9-year-olds that's sexually active. Hell,
right?
They can tell you some things about sex
that you don't know about.
That you don't know about,
right.
Like real talk.
Right.
So yeah, I said real talk instead of real rap. I know that was a Georgia thing, right? That was a Georgia moment. Okay, I'm sorry.
I've heard people say from other states too. They be saying real talk, but I know you being from I'm a Jersey, Philly. I know y'all say
that's just my thing.
Y'all got your own slang. Excuse me for the coughing, y'all, because I was choking on some tea like 5-10 minutes ago, and it's still affecting my throat right now. So if I cough, please excuse me. My throat is tripping right now. So yeah, but I mean, you're right though. I mean, like I said, it's the pressures of the world. You know what's surrounded. You know, there's so much temptation out here that unfortunately a lot of the youth succumb to that and not being able to handle that. So
that's very true.
You know,
very true. But did you have something?
Oh yes. Well, I wanted to read something from National Drug and Alcohol. That's what we on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just want to give a little summary, little breakdown of basically what drug and alcohol represents and what is its purpose. Excuse me. So I'm gonna read from GetSmartAboutDrugs.gov. GetSmartAboutDrugs.gov. Now they did have a notice. A lot of government sites. Just keep in mind they did have notices earlier about this whole government shutting down for a brief moment. So certain things that they have active on their page had to either be rescheduled or they had to find another day to do some activities or schedule certain things far as getting involved. So I'm going to read this here. Of course, they state here, we've been looking forward to Drugs and Alcohol Chat Day. However, the federal government is currently closed due to a lapse in appropriations. So the chat day scheduled for January 22nd, 2018 has been canceled. When the government reopens, we will connect with all registrants about the next chat day opportunity. So they have chat days on this website. So if you're interested in that, make sure you register. Go through appropriate channels on how to get involved in that opportunity. Now I'm going to go to this next part. The DEA supports the National Institute of Drug Abuse, which is NIDA, and the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, NIAAA, during their annual National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week, NDAFW. Held the last week of January every year since 2010, NDAFW brings teens and scientific experts together to discuss the scientific facts about drugs as well as their potential health effects on teen bodies and brains. Events are held around the country with registrants getting free science-based materials designed for young people. During the week, scientists and science writers answer questions from teens around the country during a live web chat called National Drugs and Alcohol Chat Day. And like I said, if you want to get involved, please go to this website, contact whoever you need to contact, click on whatever link you need to get involved on this opportunity. I think it's something great. I'm going to read this last part. It says, NIDA and NIAAA are parts of the National Institutes of Health, the nation's premier biomedical government research agency. If you want more information on what I just read, or any additional information that I have not read because they have nothing else on this beginning page, you can go to their link that's under that says for more information. So click on that and it should tell you everything you need to know. But I think this is a pretty cool, a cool idea, cool thing. Mm-hmm. Having the scientists, anyone involved in the science field, to collaborate with the teens, to discuss alcohol and drug abuse and give them some, foresight on drug and alcohol and how it can affect you and how can you avoid it, I'm sure, So I think that's a cool thing.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. Interesting.
But that's pretty much, what Drug and Alcohol Facts Week is. It's just, scientists and science writers and anyone in the science field collaborate with the teens to talk about facts on drugs and alcohol and the health effects that it has on the body. And also spreading that awareness to others just across social platforms and just in the web space, period, about drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
And where did that come from again?
And this comes from, in case y'all, I know you want to know, Jay, since you asked, and for the public audience, if you want to know, go to getsmartaboutdrugs.gov.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool beans. So I have another one. I have another link I clicked on under the Guide Inc. And then for future reference, once this is put up, all the information posted up about where we read information from. Certainly there are other links that you can click on to further read. And again, I think this is real interesting. This is something I'm such a humanitarian. I'm always interested in different things for the better. I mean, if it's something that's positive, for the better, like-minded, realizing that we cannot save the world. I know this. We cannot save the world.
No, we cannot.
As much as I would love to, but we
sure
cannot.
Can contribute to
but we
it.
can contribute, and if you touch one person, that's a blessing. That's a start, because somebody's listening.
Yep.
Somebody is listening. So
that's inspired about what we're saying and really touched by it, and it could change them. You just never know.
That's true. So where I'm going to read now is from Major Initiatives. Again, this is from the guideinc.org. They have Gwinnett Mobilizing for Change in Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drugs is a community organizing initiative focusing primarily on reducing underage alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use. Guide has the lead on several related drug-free communities strategies through its partnership with the Gwinnett Coalition for Health and Human Services. Since 2011, Guide has focused primarily on underage and binge drinking through the Georgia DBHDD's Alcohol Prevention Project. Essential to this initiative are the contributions of volunteers serving on the Gwinnett Alcohol Prevention Project Work Group, the Youth Advisory Board, and several local youth action teams who help plan, implement, and evaluate strategies and activities. So if I repeated anything, that's good because I want you to get it in your head. So the first one is the Georgia Teen Institute is a comprehensive program to train, mobilize, and empower youth action teams to become active change agents in their schools and communities. Teams attend the summer programs to develop leadership skills and knowledge about strategic planning and prevention strategies. They return home with a vision, mission, and action plan to address local concerns such as underage drinking and prescription drug use. Guide continues to work with teams, providing technical assistance, resources, and additional training. Then here it has training and capacity building are vital parts of workforce development and community change. Guide is well known for planning and providing high quality, engaging professional and youth development courses, workshops, and conferences. So I just want to read that little bit about the initiatives, major initiatives that they have. Again, you can always click on the links that I read and the further links that they have under their menu, because they have accomplishments. They have under the prevention link, they have underage, they have the data, public awareness, prevention trainings, youth advisory boards, the institute, custom training, adult and youth training events with like so much more. So make sure y'all definitely check out these sites that we're gonna put on here.
That's dope. That's what's up. I have an article. It's a short one, so I'm gonna read it. It's coming from alcoholrehabguide.org. So the headline reads, National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week, raising awareness and promoting prevention activities and to educate teens across the nation about the risks of using drugs and alcohol, quote unquote. And that was from Nora D. Volkow, MD. Teens today are exposed to drugs and alcohol from a young age. Substances are portrayed in movies, television shows, music videos, and on the internet. In fact, roughly 1 in 3 songs today includes lyrics about drug, alcohol, tobacco use. The same number of movies, 1 in every 3, also shows people getting drunk. Unfortunately, substance use is often depicted as a fun hobby or a way to relax. Because of this, adolescents do not always understand the harmful implications caused by drug and alcohol use. Adolescent substance use myths versus facts. Again, the headline reads, Adolescent substance use myths versus facts. With so many mixed messages surrounding the risk of substance abuse, it can be confusing for adolescents to separate real information from misconception. It's important for teens to understand the true impact that drugs and alcohol can have on their health and well-being. When individuals are equipped with the right information, they're empowered to make better decisions when faced with the temptation to use drugs or alcohol. Here are some of the most common myths surrounding adolescent substance. Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning. Fact. Many school-age youths want to fit in, however, peer pressure can be extremely harmful to their health, safety, and overall well-being. Although drugs affect every person differently, they all cause damage to the brain and other vital organs. When peer pressure arises, adolescents have to consider whether or not the reward outweighs the risk. Unfortunately, some adolescents choose popularity over the potentially dangerous risk of drug or alcohol use. Myth. Parents or other loved ones do not have any influence on adolescents experimenting with dangerous substances. Fact. The truth is that a vast majority of children will listen to what their parents say about substance abuse. Sadly, only 1 in 10 parents have discussed substance abuse with their children in the past year. Adolescents are vulnerable to experimenting with drugs and alcohol, which is why it's important to talk about the consequences of using them often. Teens who learn about substance abuse from their parents or grandparents are 42% less likely to abuse prescription drugs. And lastly, the headline reads, "Start the conversation about substance abuse today." Having a dialogue about the risks of adolescent substance abuse can make a difference in your teen's life. Remember, a conversation works two ways, so be sure to listen to what your child has to say and answer any questions they may have. Other tips for talking to your teen about alcohol and drug use include discussing the facts about the dangers of substance abuse, empowering them to stand up and say no to peer pressure, setting rules about alcohol or drug use, and establishing consequences if the rules are broken, guiding them on how to live a happy and healthy life, making sure they know they can always come to you if a problem ever arises. Don't be afraid to talk about substance use, awareness, and prevention out in the open. Drug and alcohol abuse is more than just an individual or family issue. It impacts entire neighborhoods and communities. Every person, no matter your age, gender, background, or faith, can make a difference. Make the commitment today and take a stand against adolescent substance abuse. So this is coming from alcoholrehabguide.org, but they have a lot of I agree with a lot of things that say here. It's said in the article, besides, except the marijuana part. Like I said, unless it's laced with something, then that's not a drug. Marijuana comes from the earth. But other than that, I agree with everything else. Yeah, it's good to have these talks with your kids because there's so much peer pressure in the world, and how they conduct themselves in society can be a big impact to the household, not just in the household. Outside people, whether it be friends, adults. Far as how they far as how they react to other people. So you definitely got to be careful, and bringing awareness and telling them the risks of that, so you can prevent a lot of situations, not just in the now, far as their life as a teenager, but as they grow up and grow into adulthood. Because yes, drugs and alcohol can have an everlasting effect on a person's life. Then you gotta look at another factor. It's not just about peer pressure. How about all the physical abuse that may be going on, or some mental abuse, or some psychological issues that a person got going on? So that alcohol and drugs can add to that, and they become codependent on it. So that's another thing that you gotta think about. How does drug and alcohol affect your mental as well? Because you just never know what a person going through, and their way of dealing with it is through drugs and alcohol. They think that's the way to get away from whatever they're dealing with, and that's not the way, because all it does is make things worse, not just for themselves but anybody else. And it could break up families, it can break up communities, it can break up relationships. not just with your family, but even in a relationship with someone that you potentially can be with. So a lot of factors you gotta put into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the article and a lot of what you were saying too. I will say this about the whole marijuana thing, because marijuana is a plant that was grown from the earth, and it's one, like you said, dangerous if you lace it or if you use it with another form of drug. Then you have destroyed the plant with putting
the natural element
of the plant.
Right.
So that, yes. And also, I don't condone seeing 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds smoking weed. No, I don't condone that in regards to marijuana or weed. Unless you're mentally or physically ill and you have the medical marijuana card where, you know, you're getting, you have to use the oil or, you know, the marijuana itself to, you know, in order for you to feel better. I get that, but I definitely wouldn't want to see a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old smoking weed, though I know that they do, and I don't condone that. But I just want to just kind of
it's just not a good look. It's not a good look.
So I'm not going to read through all this, but I had an article. I have another article that can be posted. Drugabuse.gov. Did you read from that? Drugabuse.gov. I know because of the government shutdown, some things may not be. I guess that was because of the whole government shutdown. You'll see that at the beginning when you click on. However, you can go to the menu and click down, and they have different links to different drugs of abuse, such as alcohol, club drugs, cocaine, heroin, inhalants. They have marijuana. They have ecstasy and Molly, prescription drugs and
Molly. Sorry.
Prescription drugs. You just interrupted me for real though.
I'm sorry.
Prescription drugs. No, I'm playing. Prescription drugs and cold medicines are big, like lean and that SERP. That's real big in the prescription drugs. Also, what is it? Inhaling into the
No.
Good. Thank you. Inhaling into the bag. The inhaling and the synthetic drugs, the K2 and spice and bath salts and. Of course, the tobacco, nicotine, and the e-cig. So just kind of look over that in the drugabuse.gov article that's going to be posted with the other links. So I just want to just say that because it's too much to read and too much to click on each drug. I think that you, as a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a brother, a sister, a community, we should do that. And try to help some of our youth. While she's making her faces here, because I said what I said, but Auntie Hugh, we can move forward.
I have an article too.
Well, certainly go ahead. I didn't
done talking now.
I didn't read that article. Was just making reference on it while you showing yourself out this evening. But you certainly can read whatever you choose to.
Oh man. Nah, I mean, this is a short one. I mean, I know there's a lot of government sites are making these announcements and making you aware that the government is closed down for this day.
But didn't they come to a decision?
They came to a decision, but I know today, before they came to a decision, a lot of these government sites here have gave notifications far as it closing down temporarily until they appropriate whatever deals they have going on inside the White House and the Congress and the Senate and whatever else. So, but that's over with. I'm going to read from easyread.drugabuse.gov, and it actually talks about the effects of drug use. Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit on it from what they have on their website. Drug use can hurt the people who take drugs and the people around them, including family, kids, and babies who aren't yet born. Drug use can hurt the body and the brain, sometimes forever. Drug use can also lead to addiction, a long-lasting brain disease in which people can't stop taking drugs on their own, even when they know that bad things can happen if they keep using them. Learn more about how drug use and mental health problems often happen together, which I just spoke on that like 5 minutes ago about it affecting your mental. The link between drug use and HIV/AIDS, and they have pages on here, I'm guessing, so you just have to go to whatever pages they have here, because it says see page 5 from the bulletins that I just read from. Both bulletins I just read from. Well, bullet points, excuse me. Drug use can cause many problems. Fighting imbalances inside and outside the home, money problems, trouble at school, trouble at work or losing a job, trouble in relationships, which I spoke on a couple of these like 5 minutes ago, child abuse or neglect, driving crashes, arrests and jail. So visit the Easy Read to Drug Facts web pages, list under drugs that people abuse to learn more about effects of specific drugs. So again, if you want to read about easy to read drug facts, visit their web pages, and it's listed under drugs that people abuse, and you can learn more about the effects of specific drugs. I'm not gonna click on nothing because I'm sure it's a load of information and just don't have the time to read all that. So yes, that's all I wanted to read. I'm done with that. Anything else you'd like to read on drug and alcohol?
No, just, as a parent, as a human being, just let us as adults learn to not only speak to our youth or our teens or our young adults, but also listen. Let's get into the habit of listening and look for those signs. Mm-hmm. There's signs to look for. Attitude, the behavior changes. I mean, it's a lot. So much. Yeah. So just make sure that you just talk, be supportive, not in what they're doing, but be supportive, like in their recovery, because it's real. It's real out here. For real. This world will eat you up. Man, will it?
Seriously.
It really will.
That's why people are suffering.
It really will.
And they feel like that's the only way they can deal with their problems.
Mm-hmm.
And pain.
And their pain, right. And it's only a temporary fix. Being a person that's in recovery myself of drug addiction, and had a brief experience of popping some pills once upon a time, and just, I'm dual diagnosed, and that means being in recovery of crack cocaine once upon a time, and being clean 10 years strong and still going, and being in my recovery of mental health, and being in my recovery of physical health, so it's just. And even if you don't have a diagnosis, it's still, we all have a life experience or a life story. So let's not act. Okay, because none of us are perfect. We all have gone through whatever we have gone through, be it the past or even present, It's okay to get help somewhere. You don't have to suppress it. You don't have to hold on to it. 2018 should be a year of healing. If you're not already healed or in that stage of healing, let 2018 be a year for you, a new, fresh year of healing, because we can just keep saying, we'll put it off. You can keep putting it off if you want to, or you can keep suppressing and being angry all your life at yourself or whoever. But at some point, it's going to break you down, and you have to be in a position to start healing, and whatever that looks like for you, whether it's spiritual support groups, talking to somebody, therapy, counseling, whatever, find that, I guess, niche for yourself so you can start that journey of healing and recovery.
I agree, absolutely.
So,
I just want
go ahead.
I want sidebar. I was just gonna say let's just go ahead and do the National Blood Awareness.
I was already on the page.
I was gonna say do that last because it's so short. It's not really much to talk about with it. You just do that one last. That was my sidebar.
Okay, so
I have we can do birth defects prevention. I have an article called mbdpn.org. It pretty much has a description about that month. Well, about birth defects. It has, infections, immunizations, healthy lifestyle, preconception health, stuff like that. So, I'm going to read this, though, about the purpose of National Birth Giving Defects, defects prevention, pamphlets, 5 things you should know about congenital heart defects. So you want to check it out, please do.
Reels and multimedia information for families, links to other websites, and about us. So, of course, again, like Uno was saying, this is for the National Birth Defects Prevention Month. And each January, the CDC raises awareness among women and families on actions they can take to help have a healthy baby. January is also a time to recognize people living with birth defects. Thanks to ongoing medical advances, children born with birth defects are living longer. These children and their families still need help. They often need specialized treatment, continued care, and strong social support to improve their overall quality of life. They have Join Our Thunderclap, which is join the hashtag prevent2protect. So hashtag prevent, the number 2, protect. Thunderclap to raise awareness of National Birth Defect Prevention Month. Thunderclap is a social media tool that allows supporters to sign up in advance to share a unified message at a specific time through their individual Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr account. The collective action creates a wave of support, or thunderclap, across social media. Our thunderclap will go live. It went live on January 10th. You can sign up. You can read more information on it. They also have a hashtag number 1 in 33. So hashtag the number 1 in and the number 33. This is me. It says, have birth defects affected your life? Have birth defects affected your life? Are you living with a heart defect? Are you the parent or sibling of a person living with spina bifida? Did your best friend or favorite aunt have a cleft lip or palate? You can share the story here. It tells you how you can go about doing that. You can check out their family stories there across social media. You can read them and how the birth defects affect people's lives. They also have another hashtag prevent the number 2 protect. So hashtag prevent to protect. This is making healthy choices and adopting healthy habits are important for your own health, but also for the health of the children you may have one day. Not all birth defects can be prevented, but there are steps people can take to help have a healthy pregnancy. This month and throughout the year, we encourage you to prevent infections that could hurt you and your developing baby. So it just says, tell us how you plan to prevent infections during pregnancy. Encourage others to prevent infections too. Celebrate those who motivate you and inspire others to get healthy before and during pregnancy. And it says you can create an original picture or video and post it on social media with that hashtag prevent to protect. So they have tons of information that is very, very here it says birth defects are common, costly, and critical. Birth defects are common. Every 4.5 minutes, a baby is born with a birth defect in the United States. Birth defects affect 1 in every 33 babies born in the United States each year. That translates into about 120,000 babies. You can click on a link right under what I read for more. Says again, birth defects affect 1 in 33 babies and are a leading cause of infant mortality in the United States. More than 5,500 infants die each year because of birth defects, which is twice as many as from sudden infant death syndrome, which is SIDS for short, SIDS. In addition, babies who survive and live with birth defects are at increased risk for developing many lifelong physical, cognitive, and social challenges. CDC works to identify causes of birth defects, finding opportunities to prevent them, and improve the health of those living with birth defects by applying a public health approach incorporating 3 essential elements: surveillance or disease tracking, research to identify causes, and prevention research and programs. We can rapidly translate scientific findings into appropriate public health interventions. Understanding the potential cause of birth defects can lead to recommendations, policies, and services to help prevent them. CDC works towards a day when every child is born with the best health possible. Then they have tracking here you can research at your time. Then they have tracking, research, prevention. I mean, the list just goes on. They have relative links, so you can really get into, even if you're even if you're pregnant and you're at risk for having, when you're at risk, they have healthy pregnancies, planning for pregnancies. So this is all coming from cdc.gov.
A lot of wealth of information.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. To add to what you're saying as well, this is coming from healthline.com. Of course, it gives the purpose on Birth Defects Prevention Month, and it basically reiterates what you said, and I'm sure it added some things into. But I was going to speak on too is like causes and symptoms and treatments. So I'm going to read the causes of birth defects. Birth defects can be a result of genetics, lifestyle choices and behaviors, exposure to certain medications and chemicals, infections during pregnancy, a combination of these factors. Genetics. I'm going to get to genetics. The mother or father may pass on genetic abnormalities to their baby. Genetic abnormalities occur when a gene becomes flawed due to a mutation or change. In some cases, a gene or part of a gene might be missing. These defects happen at conception and often can be prevented. A particular defect may be present throughout the family history of one or both parents. Now they have what are the risk factors of birth defects. All pregnant women have some risk of delivering a child with a birth defect. Risk increases under any of the following conditions: family history of birth defects or other genetic disorders, drug use, alcohol consumption, or smoking during pregnancy, maternal age of 35 years.
They have real stories in here. They have information on healthcare providers.
and body part is missing or malformed. The most common structural defects are heart defects, cleft lip or palate when there's an opening or split in the lip or roof of the mouth, spina bifida when the spinal cord doesn't develop properly, and clubfoot when the foot points inward instead of forward. They also have the most common types of functional or developmental birth defects: Down syndrome, which causes delay in physical and mental development; sickle cell disease, which occurs when the red blood cells become mishappen; cystic fibrosis, which damages the lungs and digestive system. And you can actually, of course, diagnose birth defects. Many types of birth defects can be diagnosed during pregnancy. A healthcare professional can use prenatal ultrasound to help them diagnose certain birth defects in utero. More in-depth screening options such as blood tests and amniocentesis, taking a sample of the amniotic fluid, basically, may also be done. These tests are usually offered to women who have higher risk pregnancies due to family history, advanced maternal age, or other known factors. And the treatment of birth defects. So how can birth defects be treated? Treatment options vary depending on the condition and level of severity. Some birth defects can be corrected before birth or shortly after. Other defects, however, may affect the child for the rest of their life. Mild defects can be stressful, but they don't typically affect overall quality of life. Severe birth defects such as cerebral palsy or spina bifida can cause long-term disability or even death. So they have medications. Medications may be used to treat some birth defects or to lower the risk of complications from certain defects. In some cases, medication may be prescribed to the mother to help correct an abnormality before birth. Surgeries. Surgeries can fix certain defects or ease harmful symptoms. Some people with physical birth defects such as cleft lip may undergo plastic surgery for either health or cosmetic benefits. Many babies with heart defects will need surgery as well, and home care. Parents may be instructed to follow specific instructions for feeding, bathing, and monitoring an infant with a birth defect. Now, how can that be treated? Women should avoid alcohol, drugs, and tobacco during and after pregnancy. Prenatal vitamins are recommended during pregnancy. Folic acid can help prevent the defects of the spine and brain. Let's see what else they have here. Of course, you should talk to your medical doctor before you take certain medications, because it might not mesh well with your body. It might give you a side effect, so you got to be mindful of that. So that includes not just medications but supplements too. They suggest vaccines are safe during pregnancy. They can prevent birth defects. Of course, maintaining a healthy weight, that's definitely important. That reduces the risk of complications during pregnancy. So women with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes should take special care to manage their health. So, and they have genetic counseling. So that's basically a counselor who, has knowledge of genetics, can advise, couples with family histories of a defect or other risk factors for birth defects. So that could be helpful for a person or persons if they're thinking about having children or they're already expecting a child. So that's an option that a person or persons can use. And this is coming from healthline.com. I thought that was a lot of wealthy information.
Yeah, that was a lot of great information, especially if you're pregnant or you're planning on having children. It's very important, I think, for Yeah, like you said, making sure that you don't drink, making sure that you don't smoke anything. That is probably the time. One of the other times that I say don't smoke. Don't smoke weed. Just be as healthy as you can. Always, and I guess always important to talk to your doctor. So that was real interesting. It's really interesting. So I'm not going to read my other one because it's pretty much what you already read, but that can be posted on the posted up as well from babysleepsite.com, because that's pretty much what you read is in there, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate it when you guys read it, just to get it in your head. So the next that I would like to speak about is the Cervical Health Awareness Month. The National Cervical. This is coming from the National Cervical Cancer Coalition, but the website is nccc-online.org. Again, this is the Cervical Health Awareness Month. And it says, what is Cervical Health Awareness Month? The United States Congress designated January as Cervical Health Awareness Month. Nearly 13,000 women in the U.S. are diagnosed with cervical cancer each year, but the disease is preventable with vaccination and appropriate screening, PAP and HPV test. During January, NCCC and its many local chapters across the country highlight issues related to cervical cancer, HPV disease, and the importance of early detection. While NCCC chapters host events throughout the year, January is a month with a special focus as chapters celebrate Cervical Health Awareness Month and work to spread the word in their communities. NCC and the American Sexual Health Association, which is ASHA, also offers a range of resources, which are listed below, to educate the public and healthcare providers about cervical health, from fact sheets to episodes of ASHA's Sex Plus Health podcast. They ask, what can you do? As someone who is interested in educating and advocating for increased knowledge of cervical cancer and HPV disease, you can do a lot. You can contact your local media to encourage coverage of Cervical Health Awareness Month, offering this ASHA, which is Aisha, looks like, /NCCC press release. You can also send the proclamation to your mayor or local legislative office to publicly recognize Cervical Health Awareness Month. You can also check out the resources on this page, the podcast, so that you can educate yourself and others. You can download the display and distribute out Cervical Cancer Awareness Month posters and help get the word out on social media. You can promote cervical health on social media. I'm sure it looks like they're on Twitter. They're on Facebook. They have a downloadable content, 10 things to know about HPV and cervical cancer fact sheets. They have a free ebook, which is HPV and cervical cancer stories from survivors and supporters. And you can click on the image to view and download the cervical cancer awareness posters. Of course, again, they have the Aisha, or I'll say Aisha. It stands as ASHA, Sex Plus Health Podcast. It covers a wide range topics in sexual health, including HPV and cervical cancer preventions. They have episodes that feature interviews with experts in the field discussing all aspects of HPV and cervical cancer prevention. So they have one at least on here, but I'm sure, they have a few. They're on SoundCloud. So you can get on here. They have resources for health professionals. They just have so much they talk about vaccinations, and I'm per se, I am not big into the vaccinations, but to each his own. Pro-choice, you know, I'm not discriminating here with you. You do what you feel is best for your temple. I personally, again, I'm not a vaccination type of chick. But they have a lot on here. So, again, just because of my personal views for myself doesn't mean that I can't be supportive and at least share the knowledge, because it could help. It could definitely, I think, in general help. But certain things I'm against for myself, because that's when the whole natural alternatives come into play for me, which I'm sure between myself and Uno, I'm sure we do have some healthy alternatives.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
For this. So again, this is coming from the ncc-online.org, and the organization or the coalition is called National Cervical Cancer Coalition. Is a program of the American Sexual Health Association.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of good information.
Mm-hmm.
I have one from CDC.gov concerning cervical cancer. How is it diagnosed and how can it be treated? And of course, again, we done reiterated this a few times about this government shutdown that they have it on every government site.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna skip past all that. But just I was just putting it out there, just observation. Now I'm gonna read it. So here we go. If your doctor says that you have cervical cancer, ask to be referred to a gynecologic oncologist, which is a doctor who has been trained to treat cancers of a woman's reproductive system. This doctor will work with you to create a treatment plan. The extent of disease is referred to as the stage. Information about the size of the cancer or how far it has spread is often used to determine the stage. Doctors use this information to plan treatment and to monitor progress. Types of treatment. Cervical cancer is treated in several ways. So you have surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation therapy. Of course, with surgery, the doctors remove cancer tissue in an operation. Chemotherapy, using special medicines to shrink or kill the cancer. The drugs can be pills you take or medicines given in your veins, or sometimes both. And then you have radiation, using high energy rays similar to X-rays to kill the cancer. Different treatments may be provided by different doctors on your medical team. So gynecologic oncologists, they've been trained to treat cancer of a woman's reproductive system. Surgeons are doctors who perform operations. Medical oncologists are doctors who treat cancer with medicine. And radiation oncologists are doctors who treat cancer with radiation. And of course, they have clinical trials. So if you want to read into that, visit cdc.gov. They have the clinical research trials. You can learn about the clinical trials. You can search for clinical trials, and they have a National Institutes of Health site. It's called clinicaltrials.gov. All these four are highlighted, so check it out. And they have complementary and alternative medicine, of course. So that is used in addition to, standard treatments. And alternative medicine, of course, they use that instead of the standard treatments. They have options like meditation, yoga, and supplements. That could be vitamins and herbs. But those are alternatives they have. But of course, you always should talk with your doctor when it comes to stuff like this, because you don't know what side effects it can have. you don't know how physically it'll make you feel, or you don't know if it'll work or not. If it works best for you, you don't know. So it's definitely good to talk with your doctor to learn about the risks and benefits of these complementary and alternative ways to manage cervical cancer or cure cervical cancer. So yeah, and it's figure out what treatment is right for you, and then that's when you, like I said, you talk to your doctor about that, and you make that decision for yourself. And you know, whatever comes with it, comes with it. But it's always good to get an opinion from your cancer doctor and go from there. So I wanted to read that real quick for the audience. Again, it's coming from cdc.gov.
So it seems like listening to you and also looking at my article that not only females are affected, but males are affected as well. You know, they're saying how important it is, suggesting that teen boys and men get the vaccine as well. Again, I'm not going to tell you don't get the vaccine, because that's not for me to do. My own personal is something different than, hey, again, like me and Uno say, we are not medical professionals. So if you by any means necessary, okay, we are not. We get information and we get resources and we give it to you from both sides. If again,
like we doctors.
Right, we are not doctors. I cannot diagnose you. Though sometimes when it comes to the mental, I probably can give a little diagnosis. But anywho, hey, if the vaccines, if you feel as though it'll work for you, you like it, I hear you.
You like it? I love it.
Well, I don't. I right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
So yeah, it's individual. It's an individual choice. I did see down here, from. Again, I'm just gonna just a little bit right here and then go into alternatives. I'm reading from the healthywomen.org. Again, this is coming from healthywomen.org. In addition to what Una was saying, they said symptoms of cervical cancer, which may not even show up until the cancer is advanced, which includes abnormal vaginal bleeding, unusual discharge, periods that last longer or have a heavier flow than usual, and bleeding after menopause. Then, of course, they have related contents. 5 things you should know about cervical cancer. This may lower cervical cancer risks. Women's health screenings after 65. Got the HPV vaccine before you knew you were pregnant? Don't worry. And then U.S. deaths from cervical cancer may be underestimated. So that was coming from, and you can read this from the healthywomen.org. So now we're going to probably get into the alternatives, which can be
I got some too.
Oils, you know. I have 5 here, so I'll keep it cute and short.
Keep it cute and short.
Just want to look real quick while I'm getting picked on. But when we get off this our show,
I'm just messing with you.
No. Here, this is coming from flowliving.com. Flow, like FLO, living, LIVING.com. Flowliving.com. 5 natural remedies for HPV and cervical health. Annual pap smears are important to check for HPV and to monitor the health of your cervix. With about 70% of the population carrying HPV, the chances are good that many of us will have to deal with an abnormal pap smear at some point. Getting an abnormal pap smear can feel very scary. Words like pre-cancer create a lot of anxiety, and the proposed treatment, a LEEP LEEP procedure, can be uncomfortable and painful. We all know someone or have ourselves been through the worrisome wait for test results and a diagnosis of HPV with its widely publicized vaccine, and the conversation about HPV leading to cervical cancer can be upsetting, leaving your thoughts spraggling toward all the worst case scenarios. An abnormal pap smear may be quite a common experience, but it doesn't make it any easier to endure. As with everything to do with women's health, I believe the key to avoid anxiety and panic is arming yourself with knowledge. The vast majority of abnormal pap smears show low-grade cervical abnormalities that do not lead directly to precancer cells or a cancer diagnosis. Getting yourself checked up and tested is important, but for most women, an abnormal result should not have shown the boosting benefits of good vitamin C intake on cervical health. Zinc deficiency is considered a risk factor for the development of cervical health issues. Folic acid. Multiple studies have linked low levels of folic acid to a higher incidence of cervical
dysplasia.
Dysplasia. Thank you. Dysplasia. You can also combine it with B12 for increased protection against cervical cell changes. Beta carotene. Women with high levels of beta carotene were up to 50% less likely to acquire any HPV-related infections than females with low levels of beta carotene. And then lastly, it looks like it is selenium. In a recent study, supplementation with selenium improved cervical health of over 75% of women over a period of 6 months. HPV is very common and often very treatable with these natural remedies. Other common women's health issues like UTIs, which is urinary tract infection, yeast infections, and bacterial vaginosis are also avoidable and treatable with natural remedies. If you are very prone to UTIs and seem to get them all the time, I have developed a protocol that can stop this cycle in its tracks. So, that's okay, interesting. Is how you can stop the reoccurring UTIs. I was trying to get down to, they're saying how overuse of antibiotics can cause reoccurring UTIs. So those antibiotics that we may tend, to get, and I'm speaking in general, it seems like if you continue to keep using them over and over again, it's not helping. It's, again, bringing on the UTIs, those antibiotics.
So it could be reoccurring. It's progressing the UTI.
So it's links on top of links. It's links on top of links.
Links on top of links.
Yeah.
It's
So
like a rap song.
Right. I just created something.
Oh, John.
You better watch out.
She got a hit. She about to make that paper real quick.
So those reminds, of course, there's links on top of links.
Links on top of links.
That you can click on to read further into natural remedies. So.
I'm over here turned up too. Links on top of links.
And that's coming from, again, flowliving.com.
Go on with yourself, Jay. You making hits over here.
I know.
That was actually great information about those natural remedies.
Yes, it was.
That's interesting.
I think I just need to take some, because I just think that a lot.
Take some because.
I'm talking about as far as taking supplements. A lot of supplements just are good in general.
Okay, I'm like, they got a supplement called Because.
I need to invent that. I'm gonna have a supplement. It's called Just Because.
You gotta patent that thing, though.
I'll come up with another name if some fool takes it.
All right. I have something coming from naturalcures.com, and they have a lot of awesome ways that you can purify and detoxify your body. with reducing herbs and some healthy practices and in a way some spiritual practices. So they have something on here called this is because they have it categorized as different colors. So you got symptoms, you got causes, you got do, diet, mind, and remedies. And I'm doing a drop down box of the remedies. They also have articles and experts, but I mean, I'm not reading none of this. I'm just specifically highlighting remedies. This is called Ayurvedic medicine. Okay. And now we all know herbs can heal. Okay. There's so many herbs on the earth, it's ridiculous. Of course,
Effective immunity.
herbs are antioxidants such as amla berry. Detoxifier is one called Chafala. There's one here that says chai. Let me see if I can say this. Chai Yavan made from Indian gooseberry amla can be taken for convalescent and tissue healing.